back to The Good Hustle, episode 9. John Henry.
Zach Williamson.
Today's going to be awesome. We have an amazing guest.
Too kind.
Hey, maybe. We'll find out by the end. But we got Brian Dein. He is an entrepreneur, owns an amazing, really cool shop in our area called Jawns on Fire. It's a sneaker boutique. And when I say boutique, it is legit. So they sell from the rarest of the rare, anywhere from Jordans, Yeezys, Dunks, and they even have Tiffany basketball-made blingy Johns.
Blingy.
We're going to get into that too.
Yeah,
so,
this, just so everyone knows, this is not Foot Locker, okay? This is not your Finish Line or your Shoe Carnival or whatever. This is like a really, really cool store with the rarest of the rare
We
stuff.
aspire to be Shoe Carnival one day.
yes, we all want. We have Shoe Depot too. We can be in between there. So, anything you want to do.
Right.
But
pay less.
not only is this today about an amazing shoe boutique, sneaker boutique, but this is about a very impactful story that you all need to hear. So we have some really cool stuff to talk about today, some really tough stuff to talk about today. But the bottom line is the stuff that you're doing for the community is why you're here.
Yeah.
It's not just about the shoes. Yeah. It's not just about...
It's got to be the shoes.
It's got to be the shoes.
It's got to be the shoes. That's a classic.
If you don't know what that is, you're probably too young, and that's fine. Look it up. But yeah, so...
Yeah, and we also have a little surprise for everyone today. So we each gave Brian a undisclosed amount of cash, okay? And we wanted to see kind of what swag bag Brian could bring for us. So at the end, if you stick around, Brian's going to dress John and I in some swag. Not literally, but he's going to give us the bag, and we're going to
I thought I was dressing you guys.
You can dress me.
You can dress John if you want.
Well, and if we want to spice it up a little bit, maybe whoever comments with the coolest comments based on your look, I have a couple of $100 gift cards.
Oh, let's go.
Jawns on Fire.
Let's go. Listen, comment, subscribe, like.
Yes.
$100.
Exactly. So
2 of them.
I just hope that my bag has some blinged out stuff like the Tiffany basketball at the store. But
I might let you down.
But we'll see what we get here.
I don't think you gave him enough money.
No, I don't think so. So stick around at the end. Yeah, episode 10 we can do that. But stick around at the end and see kind of what me and John got hooked up with. But so I guess we can start here. Okay. So as a big, growing up, I was a big basketball fan. I was a big hip hop fan. I was always into the sneaker game. I loved looking, and here's the truth of it. I didn't have very much money growing up. So I was into the sneaker game by Googling it and looking up stuff and seeing kind of what the players are wearing and what the rappers are wearing and that kind of stuff. So I guess starting here, were you that same way? Were you always kind of into shoes growing up?
So short answer, yes. Okay. Into sneakers. Then got into, I guess, shoes with, business casual attire back in the day. But sneakers have always been a part of my life. And I guess when I really break it down outside of this style and as that transformed more into comfort over the years, there's a real reason why I was always into sneakers, kind of a personal thing. And I always say if I ever write a book that will be an audience of one, which is me, there'll be a chapter called I Always Had the Best Sneakers, Watches, and Hats. Any guesses why?
No. Oh.
I'm going to jar guess.
So, being always kind of an overweight, chubby kid, and back in the day, there wasn't big boy size clothes.
That's true.
Or apparel.
Okay, gotcha.
So the only thing that I could buy in the average store or wear was sneakers,
watches, and hats.
Hats, because they're not size really dependent. So since my apparel or clothing wasn't very cool.
Yeah.
But I always had the nicest sneakers, watches, and hats.
Oh, that's awesome.
A little bit of personal kind of backstory behind that. And who doesn't love sneakers? And if you don't,
exactly.
What's wrong with you?
There's a lot wrong with people that don't.
But, just comfort and style and fashion. And what's been crazy is over the last now almost 40 years as sneaker culture started back with the original Jordan in 85, 86, is that it's, started out and my generation has continued to transform. And now it's the entire country. It's the world. It's soccer moms. It's suburban teenagers. It's everybody that is into sneaker fashion, where instead of picking your outfit and then just throwing on a pair of sneakers, it's what sneakers am I wearing and then what outfit do I wear to complement them?
Yeah, I was just at a big event for Keller Williams in Las Vegas, 20,000 agents. the number one shoe I saw on women was Dunks.
Mm-hmm.
The number one,
crazy?
oh yeah, and the number one shoe I saw on 30 to 50-year-old men was Jordan 1 mids.
Yeah.
You would have never. Well, we got to have a conversation with those guys, Jordan 1 mids, but that's okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
We have to have a conversation, high or low, but it's okay.
Is it
But
high or
high or low?
So what's the middle one?
So middle ones are mids.
Okay.
But in the true sneakerhead world, mids are a no. So highs are OG, right?
Yeah, correct.
Started out with highs.
Yeah.
Lows, of course,
Are the lows.
are the lows, but mids, typically a sneakerhead will not wear a mid. Typically,
really?
and if you look at the colorways of mids, Nike more or less markets them to, teenagers, girls, moms.
40-year-old men at conferences.
So we'll have to have a Keller Williams newsletter for next year.
We do one every month. We could do a new one
There you
next
go.
month.
But true sneakerheads will only wear Jordan 1 highs,
Right.
and mids
It's
are
so
kind
crazy.
of
It reminds me of when like Christian denominations will fight over like little parts of a Bible verse and be like,
Yeah.
oh, like no true Christian would believe X about
Yeah.
It gets very.
And speaking for myself, if I like the color, I'll wear it.
Yeah.
So I have a teal because I love teal. It's one of these colors. So I have a teal pair of Jordan 1 mids because they don't make them in high or low. So
yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you this too. One of the funniest thoughts I had coming over here was I was thinking about how we have a 9-month-old right now. His name's Emery. He's the best. And I remember the first two thoughts I had whenever we found out we were having a boy was, first of all, I have to get him a little Dolphins jersey, like a onesie. So I'm a huge Dolphins fan, and he got a little Jalen Waddle
sorry to
onesie.
hear that.
Yeah, listen, we got bounced by Patrick Mahomes. Story of my life, right? And then the second thing I had was like I have to do whenever he starts walking, we have to do a little family shoot where we all wear Jordans. That was just like top of. I don't know why, but that was like the top of my head whenever we were thinking about having a boy. So
Well, it's the way it should
Fantastic.
be.
And you can do that with a girl too.
exactly, yeah. No, absolutely, we will. Yeah. So,
Well, so I want kind of talking to you and getting you on the show was big for me. So I know you're super busy, so I don't know if anybody knows this, but I kind of I made a deal to get John here. So do you want to do that now?
Sure. So John, being wants to be an Eagles fan.
No, never. Anti Philly.
And of course, Jawns on Fire. I'm from Philly, and Jawns on Fire is kind of a Philly theme, name, brand, kind of atmosphere. Of course, we love to serve all customers and love the debate between crazy sports fans.
Yes.
But one, thanks for having me.
Of course.
And but once you said that you'd be willing to wear
I'm gonna throw
some
up
Eagles
right now.
gear, you might start sweating with that. Thing's pretty
if I
pretty
do
heavy.
start sweating, I'll take it off. But Dominic, yeah, you can start making fun. It's fine. You know who you are. So let's go back to what you were talking about earlier. So you're overweight as a kid.
And as an adult,
Okay, you're right. And what were you like as a kid?
yeah, great question. If you ask my mom, the greatest kid, the hardest working, the most loving, caring.
of course.
Of course. My nickname is Champ, so that's all you need to know.
Champ?
There you
Champ.
go.
But, good small group of friends, always my entire life. Hard learned, to work hard and earn money. So shoveling snow in the winter, delivering newspapers in the summer, working at my uncle's peanut store, making wrestling belts back in the day
that's
out of
awesome.
cardboard. Selling. I guess I always had the entrepreneurial spirit, just didn't know it. I was with a group of teenage friends once, Ocean City, Maryland, and the change machine at the motel wasn't working, but my mom packed me like $20 worth of quarters. So I sold quarters, 3 for $1.
That's genius.
I love
Right?
it.
I mean, but there was a market for it. And again, I didn't know that's what I was kind of meant to do or be, but always.
That's a hustle. Right there.
That's
is a
that
great
was a hustle. Love to cook, love to learn. My grandfather, think about him every day. I spent the summers with him. My mom had to go to work when I was in second grade. So I spent the summer with my grandfather, and he was like a, World War II vet. He also decorated like windows for all the high-end designer stores in downtown Philly.
Oh, that's cool.
So knack for merchandising, knack for visualizing
aesthetics of it all.
Aesthetics, I kind of learned by watching him and what he produced.
Sure.
And again, didn't know it at the time, but that kind of translated into my retail career and always having a knack for visualization of how things could look or should look.
Sure.
And thinking about what the customer might want versus what I or somebody else might want. So spend my summers working with him, and I'll never forget, we would go to McDonald's like once a week as a treat. Again, love McDonald's. Who doesn't?
Of course.
And if you do, you're not a friend of mine. Excuse me. If you don't, you're not a friend of mine.
Exactly.
And I was always very conscious of spending other people's money because I knew my grandparents, fixed the budget, etc. And so while I wanted 2 cheeseburgers, I would only ever ask for 1. And I remember, this has got to be, 40 years ago. I remember one time when I said I want 1, and I could see my grandfather look at the lady and go like this. Aww. And then on the tray was 2. And I said, no, Grandpa, don't do that. He's like, she just gave it to me.
Aww.
And I always was, very conscious of that. And, but, based on how my grandparents always gave to us and how my parents who, lived paycheck to paycheck, but any money they had, it always went to Beth, my sister, and I. Wow. Period. They didn't live any fabulous luxury life. It always went to us. My dad would come home with if I was the catcher on the baseball team, he would come home one Friday with a catcher's mitt and couldn't wait to give it to me. But it wasn't wrapped, just in a bag because, just the joy that he experienced by giving it to me and the joy that I experienced. And that's kind of what I became over my life. It loved giving and could never bad at surprises. Like I'm dying for you guys to see that because I'm bad at, once I get it, I have to give it.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's that's a love language.
Yeah. It is.
It is big time.
I think all 3 of us are.
I love giving. It's you. I mean, the shoes on his feet.
Yeah. John gives me a little too much. It makes me feel
sometimes. But I love the kid, and to me, when somebody's working hard or doing something, or we're working together and we're close friends, I love that ability to do that.
Yep.
And I think with your with your current situation, you have that ability to do that for a lot of people.
We it's a 2-year-old brand and company, and learning every day and trying to make the best decisions for our people, the business, our customers, the community. We make investments that we probably can't afford today.
Sure.
My accountant sometimes will smack me in the head and say, I love what you're doing, but you got to be smarter here. So it doesn't show up on the P&L today as a positive, but we're confident that by doing the right thing, being a good person, being a good company, we're not perfect, but those things will, 1, make an impact on people, and 2, at some point in time, come back to us.
Well, and that's the thing. I can tell you from day one when I walked in your store, which was well over a year ago, the atmosphere is literally fire. I was awesome. Just blown away. And I had told you the other day, I just got back from Vegas. I went to 5 similar type of stores. I did not go to the main one that you told me I missed out on, which I don't remember the name of it.
Urban Necessities is kind of like
the big one.
The big one.
But I can tell you the 5 that I went to, none had the atmosphere of yours.
Right.
They didn't. And now the next part of my question was, how much effort did you put into setting it up that way? Well, now I kind of know you put a ton of effort into because of the stuff you learned from your grandfather.
It all makes sense now, right?
100%.
And 2 things. One, thank you for your compliments. Really, it comes down to we want to just have the best experience.
Yeah.
Right. Anybody can sell sneakers and apparel. There's lots of other stores out there, brands online, in store, and they do a great job. We like to borrow and learn from them, and we hope that they like to borrow and learn from us as well. But what we believe and what our customers have told us now for 2 years, and we plan on just getting better at it every day, is people don't come to us to buy sneakers. They come to buy sneakers from us.
Yeah, that's why I come to the store.
And that's the relationships that we build. And, we could talk about my retail career later on, but, any big company in retail always says what? The customer is first. The customer means everything. Right. But then at the end of the day, when the P&L is out or the budgeting season happens, the things that are intended to improve the customer experience sometimes get...
That's the first stuff to get cut.
That's first has to get cut. There's no tangible benefit from it that day or that year. Well, fast forwards, and since I worked in that environment and worked in that, I get it, I understand it. There's no open checkbook anywhere, but here we get to do it.
Yeah.
We get to do it. And yeah, we do lots of busy work. Yeah, we do lots of tasks to improve the store and to run our processes and to get better every day. But when the customer comes in, everything stops.
Right.
And that's our focus, to not just sell them something, but to understand what they like.
Yeah.
And understand what they're into and understand what they already have, and then try to assist them and help them and really build that relationship. Because our goal isn't to sell somebody a pair of sneakers today. Our goal is to build that relationship, and they continue to come back, and most importantly, they tell other people.
Yeah.
And that's the case.
Yeah, I got to tell you too. Like when I first came in the other day, it was my first, because I don't know why, but for a long time I thought that you were just a online store or something. Because I remember the first time I ever heard of Jawns on Fire, you guys had a billboard.
Yep.
And it was actually really close to my house. So I live up on Chambers Hill.
Yep.
And yeah, the billboard was right past that at the like Giant and Walmart and all that kind of stuff, right? And I assumed like, oh, this is another like limited sneaker store. It's probably online, but they probably work out of here or something. I didn't know you guys actually had an actual location. And the first time I went in there, there was a really cool kid who came up, and he had like a spider hoodie on and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
And he was like, man, what do you like? Like, what are you into, man? And we started talking about like hip hop music, and I told him I liked Kanye and Travis Scott growing up and all this kind of stuff. And so we started talking about those shoes, and I genuinely felt the experience thing that you were talking about, where like he was trying to get to know me, not necessarily what do I want to buy, but he wanted to get to know Zach.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you had that experience. That's what we try to do, right? Yeah. And that's hard as we try to think about scaling, and as we try to think about growing, and as we do different things, because that personal touch comes down to the people that are on our team.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget those things.
Right.
It's easy to forget those things, and those are the most critical. That's what we care about. So when our customers give us those positive reviews, when people come in and tell us that they saw the billboard or they saw us on Instagram, all that's great.
Right.
But when they tell us that their friend told them, or I saw this and I saw that, and my neighbor was telling me about it because their kids had such a great experience. Excuse me. Those are the things that matter to us. And those are the things that drive us to continue to kind of kick ass and get better every day.
And that's the same way my real estate career has been. I mean, it's all referral based, and it's about customer experience. It's not like I want to sell you a house. I mean, yes, I want to sell homes, but the bottom line is I better build a relationship, or I'm not going to go anywhere.
Exactly.
That's right.
So he was talking like he thought you were an online store. So we know where you're at. You're up on Route 39, Linglestown Road, right beside the Giant. It's an awesome location. How'd you find that? Was it hard to finally get your hands on a spot?
Yeah, well, real estate, we talk about location.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants it, needs it. That's right. Well, also, we also believe that, there's a component of if you build it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I add to that, if you build it and do it great, they will come.
Sure.
So as we were looking in the area, we live on the West Shore. We've been out here for 11 years because we worked for Rite Aid Corporation. That was where our office was, and we relocated out here for a role. So that's the area that I knew and was already a competitor in that market. But we were traveling heavy to really find the location that fit into our target customer, soccer moms, teenagers, sneakerheads.
Mm-hmm.
And we searched, had a couple of locations, but then my wife was literally driving back one day from her hairdresser, which is on Linglestown Road. And she said, hey, there's this giant shopping center, and it looks like there's a vacancy. There's a lot of cars, a lot of people in that area, and I don't know if there's any sneaker stores. So started doing some research. No sneaker stores. I know the area because a lot of people that I worked with lived in what's called the East Shore.
Mm-hmm.
Ton of traffic, ton of diverse community that is into sneakers. And love that location that we wound up finding because it was just, high ceilings, kind of felt like we could make it look like an arena, hardwood floors, kind of the big structural things that you don't want to have to outlay a lot of capital on when you're in a new business, already done, and you can't replicate a 24-foot high ceiling.
Right.
And with the traffic and kind of the close to the West Shore to drive that customer over as well, we thought it was a great location. Now, there's some negatives. While we've learned that not busy traffic doesn't always mean great traffic for your brand because we have a lot of elderly that shop at the Dryad, et cetera.
Yeah.
Not necessarily our customer, but their kids or grandkids might be. And we're in this like little nook in the corner. So, okay, what do we say? We're, while we love our location, there's a couple of negatives, but from day one we said, all right, what can we do about that?
Yeah.
So for the first 6 months, we had this massive 24-foot blow-up sneaker outside the store. I will tell you, there's no doubt in my mind that from the first 6 months of operation, if we didn't have that sneaker, we would have been, 30% of our sales attributed to that sneaker. Because where we're located, we're in this like little nook. So when you come in, you park center right. Well, we're center left. Yeah, and unless you kind of drive by, you don't necessarily see, I keep hitting this mic, you don't necessarily see that sign or see our store. So the sneaker, we have what we call the world's first traveling sneaker boutique, our second location.
Yeah, we
launched on our first-year anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah. Which has been a wild success, and we can't wait for all of our events this spring and summer. We just park that thing. When the days that we're not operating it, we just park it in the center of the parking lot, and it's a driving billboard or it's a sitting billboard.
Yeah.
People that don't necessarily know that we're there, although that's been less and less over the last 2 years, see it and say, oh, what is that? And then find our store.
Right. Because you took that to Jubilee Day.
Jubilee Day.
World's largest street fair.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you also took it to, did you take it to SneakerCon?
We've taken it to a lot of places. Some just for community events, some for to get new customers, and of course, all the time to get our name out there. Mm-hmm. We were at SneakerCon a couple weeks ago in Philly.
Yeah, I saw videos of that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was. We put a ton of energy, resources, effort, investment, time through the roof for 6 weeks leading up to it. And while we learned a ton, we would probably do it over. 40% of the things we would do over. The feedback we got from the customers, from the event organizers, from others in the industry, including like Jesse Lopez from Urban Necessities, was just knocked out of the park. Like we had a line of 20 people waiting to get in and just experience we gave away 12 pair of sneakers on the boxing game. Nice. 6 people won a sneaker a month for a year.
What?
On the boxing game.
Wait, a sneaker a month for a year?
So they have to hit it and then hit it.
They had a long story. We had a game with our boxing machine that we have in store. We use the boxing machine in store for like what people use coin flips for. So if you want 150 and I want to pay 125 for your sneaker, instead of a coin flip, which is kind of the standard, we use the boxing machine. We say, all right, you get to pick whoever's working for us that day. You get to pick who you want to be up against.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I don't know why they pick me, they don't pick me, but they should, because I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
That is so funny.
We use the machine. People have a ton of fun. If they lose, they're cool. If we lose, we're cool.
Yeah.
So we brought the boxing machine, which was a massive investment to get that thing there.
That's so cool.
And that's how we kind of played this game. And help grow our social media following, etc.
That's awesome.
I got to tell you, as a customer, I would never forget that. I would never forget trying to box for shoes.
And right there, I'm glad you said that. That's the key.
It's the experience.
Well, it's the experience. And while I don't remember the specifics from 39 years ago when I got my first pair of Jordans at the Athlete's Foot at the Roosevelt Mall in Philadelphia, I don't think it's still there. I remember for the 3 weekends that I walked into that store while my dad was walking around the mall for exercise, staring at that thing and begging my parents. And it wasn't in the cards. Their mortgage was $110 a month. The sneaker was $65. It wasn't an option.
Yeah.
But I remember when I finally did get them. Like I remember the Cool It Now was playing on the radio from New Edition, and there was the Jordan Jumpman flight poster. Like I remember that. Again, not the details, but just overall. And I remember how I felt. And that's the environment in which we're trying to create every day when kids come in and get their first pair of Jordans. I mean, when families walk in that haven't been to the store and all of their eyes light up because they're all into sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
And the little kid, they're bringing the little kid in for their birthday, their 12th birthday, to get their first pair of Jordans.
That'd be so cool.
And the experience that we give them, well, if we find that out, we go run and get a cake. We don't even know that. We don't even know that they're going to buy anything, but we're going to try to make that experience memorable. Yeah. And again, one, because that's what we want to do, and two, because we believe that that's where the value and why choose us.
And we all
Because you can buy sneakers cheaper online. We all know that.
and we all love cake.
And who doesn't love
And the
it?
Giants right there.
And again, it's convenient. And if you don't love cake,
Not a friend of mine.
not a friend of mine.
Cake, sneakers, hats, and watches.
And McDonald's.
And
oh,
McDonald's.
Don't forget McDonald's.
I got to tell you about my story about McDonald's. We'll wait for that later.
Oh, by the way, but you had to say it right now because if you might not like the food, but the Coke, the Sprite, the Diet
Dr.
Coke,
Pepper.
There's something right about it.
See, it's the greatest Dr. Pepper in the world.
it's the straw, it's the ice. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, we'll get to that'll be episode 13.
Yeah, we'll get Ronald McDonald on the podcast.
There we go.
That's not fun. So I guess so speaking of sneakerheads, okay, like the real diehard sneakerheads who are into everything, right? I was thinking about this yesterday about how we have people that are real estate investors, and I have been someone to collect the little Funko Pops. They're like the little $10 Funko Pops. And so, I know it's nerdy. I get it. All right. And people have collected Beanie Babies back in the day, right? And that whole thing died out. And when I think about sneakerheads and shoe heads and guys who love Off-Whites and Dunks and all this kind of stuff, I think of all these people almost in the same way, where they're always chasing after that return on investment. They're always chasing after value, right? Like you want to be able to go in and buy a shoe. You want to stay up all night, buy the shoe at 3 a.m. when it first hits Nike's actual retail price, and then say you got it for $200 when really they're worth $3,000 today, right? Do you see a lot of similarities between investors in all these different kind of industries too?
Short answer, yes.
Yeah.
And really what's interesting is if you think about today, right, supply and demand and in housing market, in watches, in cars, with the COVID effect over the last couple of years, supply is low, demand is high. What happens? I'm not an economist. Prices go up.
Exactly.
Well, if you think about it, 30 years ago, when the sneaker industry, 20 years ago, when it got really big, and for the last 10 years, the sneaker industry or the reselling industry was like kind of one of the first supply and demand markets that became an industry.
Yeah.
So, today eBay has invested heavily into sneakers. Don't quote me, but if you read their quarterly report from a few quarters ago, they estimate that the sneaker resale business that's documented, we know a lot of it isn't,
Right.
today is $10 billion.
Whew.
And by 2030, it'll be $30 billion.
Oh
around
my
the world.
goodness.
That's just, again, resell.
Yeah.
So, low supply, high demand, and there's an industry for it, which, I guess there's probably others, but, sneaker resale was the first. So to answer your question directly, today you have a couple of different kind of people, right? You have those that want the sneaker and they're going to wear it.
Right.
Call that me.
Yep.
You have those that want to make a quick, fast buck, and they'll buy the new release and sell it to somebody or bring it to our store and make a couple of bucks on it. You have the collector that, buys some. I have a customer that buys 3 pair every time something comes out. And one pair to wear, one pair to put away forever, and one pair just in case he loves them so much and beats up the first pair that he has another pair to wear.
That's wild.
And he's an Air Max fan. That's what he loves to do, and it's crazy, right?
Wow.
And then, of course, you have the collector that wants it and put it away. And that collector comes in a couple different ways. I have a couple of guys that love to collect. They love to just look at them. They don't wear them. They could care less what the value is today or what the value will be tomorrow. They just love, and I'll ask them, have you worn those yet? No, I'm not wearing that. Maybe I'll break them out one day, but they don't.
And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this episode of the Good Hustle Podcast, please go ahead, leave a like, subscribe on the YouTube. And also, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. So if you want to listen without the video part, you can do that.
Yep. And if you're looking for any real estate needs, whether you're buying, selling, or investing, please contact Zach or myself. Our numbers are below. Back to the podcast.
Wow. And then, of course, you have the collector that's in it for an investment. And that's the crazy part, because like the stock market or other industries, not all sneakers are created equal, just like not all stocks are created equal.
Sure.
But there is certain sneakers, like the couple that are in front of you here, that over time, the value continues to go up, because every day, whatever dead stock or new pairs that might be still available in the world, somebody like me or somebody like you might get them. And since we're wearers, we wear it. So there's, less new pairs on the market in the world every day.
Yeah.
And because of that, and because they're high demand and there's no likelihood that they will be re-released by the brands, the value goes up.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. Like when I was a kid, we used to go to the flea market to get shoes. Like Nikes and Jordans were out of the question. But I remember I got my first real pair of like high-end shoes in 1997, and it was those Scottie Pippens that said Air and the huge lettering on it. Oh man, and it was the coolest thing in the world to me. And it was like I was so like on a pink cloud right then. Like it was ridiculous.
Yep.
So, but I've had tons of favorite shoes, and I can remember, like you were saying, like this whole in the last decade how it works, and how you're online trying to get a shoe. I remember I was in a tree stand in Georgia, and I got a pair of the 7 ugly sweaters.
Nice.
Like, and I actually won them, and I was beyond excited.
Yep.
But then I think I could have won a couple because not everybody wanted them, but that's the way it goes. But talking about that, like I've had my favorite shoes. And when you're talking about the collector, like I wear 90% of them, but I have a few boxes of shoes that I don't wear. Like I just won't touch them. I'm afraid to wear them. And it's not because they're super expensive necessarily or they're super rare. It's just because I don't want to mess them up.
Right.
And I get that way.
Right.
So for me, like I have a bunch of favorites, but I'm an SB guy. So I love the SBs, the lows. I love the comfort. I love how big the tongue is. Like to me, I think the colorways are amazing. But I want to talk about your favorites. So we put a couple up front here, and this is basically your top 3.
Well, it's hard
minus the OG.
Yeah. So I'm really bad at picking my favorite that I own or my favorite that I want because 1, the list is long. And 2, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to others. It's like your kids. You can't pick who your favorite kid is, right?
Right.
You love them all for different reasons.
So these 3 are in your top 20.
These 3 are in the top of my list.
Okay.
There's others, but I love wearing these 3 sneakers, all for a little bit of a different reason. The first, the Travis. I mean, Travis 1 lows, Jordan lows are just unbelievably gorgeous. There's 6 or 7 that are out on the market now. There's more coming this year. And when I rate them, I always say, they're 1A through 1G, whatever.
Okay.
Like they're all in that. But there's a difference between the A and the G. And the fragment low with the pink laces is my, 1A period.
And those are Travis Scott signature shoes.
Travis Scott signature Cactus Jack. Yeah, period. And there's a new canary yellow and royal blue one coming out in a few months.
See, that's going to be fire.
That's right up my alley. I cannot wait for that one. But Travis Scott, Jordan 1 low, they're all great. Fragment low is my favorite. Love to wear it all the time. And I don't wear Jordan 1s a lot, even though it's one of my favorite sneaker designs of all time, 1s, 4s, and 9s. I don't wear them a lot because comfort isn't necessarily there. And as a 49-year-old up on my feet 12, 14 hours a day, comfort's important to me, but for whatever reason, maybe it's mental, those don't hurt my feet.
Right.
And I think some of it is mental for sure. It's the same kind of technology they use in all 4 and 1. So, second, I brought the SB. John, to your point about how fun SBs are, thick tongue. You don't have to lace them. As you can see, I don't lace a lot of my sneakers. But Grateful Dead, SB Bear, very rare. There's 3 colorways, the yellow, the green, and the orange. And I love this color because I love color. It doesn't. You don't see the creases because it has the fur on top
right here.
And I don't think there's another sneaker that I own and wear that gets more conversations started about sneakers than those because
they're so interesting.
Yeah,
they just pop. Right. I do own the green pair, which I thought I would like more than the yellow, but I like the yellow most. The orange pair, I don't know if that's ever in the cards. The orange pair, if you don't know, is only released in one sneaker shop in LA when they came out. Very limited pairs, very expensive. My size new would probably be in the $10,000 range. So I don't know that that's in the cards anytime soon.
Goodness.
And one of my newest favorite pairs in the collection are the off-white Prestos. Prestos are very comfortable, but I don't own many pairs just because the style is just basic. But the off-white Prestos, there's 3 of them. There's a white, there's a black, and then there's this mixed with the tan. And I was gifted a pair for Christmas by one of my good friends and partners, Kevin. He bought me the white pair. And comfort's important, style's important, and I love them so much that quickly I started searching for these. And I got them about 2 months ago. I think I've worn them probably 10 times in 2 months, which is
a lot.
Not normal for me. But again, style and comfort are top of the chart.
So real quick, let's just go over just real
Yeah.
pricing.
Yeah.
So what would this run?
So,
Say
everything's
size 12,
based
I'm a
on
12.
size and new,
Yep.
right? Size 12 new, 15, 18, 2,000.
Okay. This one, size 12.
In the 1,000, 1,200 range.
All right. And the Prestos?
2,500 to 3,000.
insane.
Oh my! I think if you put 1.5 shoes together, that's more than my car.
Yeah. Well, and oh, by the way, I bought this gently enjoyed, as we call it. And we're really big on our gently enjoyed market. We promote with teenagers and families all the time. There's nothing wrong with a previously worn or gently enjoyed pair.
Sure.
They're not, and I can't say anything's cheap, but you'll save money because somebody else obviously, wore them.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. Some customers turn their head to it. If you're a collector, obviously you don't want that because you want it new. Mm-hmm. But nothing, because the first day you wear it, the same thing is going to happen to the sneaker. And of course, if you really care about them, you're going to take good care of them. So I buy Gently Enjoyed. We promote it, and you'll save some money if you consider that, because obviously somebody else paid for it.
So I have an important question on this.
hit me.
Okay? So obviously, with prices of shoes being this high, that's I can just imagine the ways that people would try to scam people, right? Have you had people come into your store and try to scam you guys with fake Travis Scotts or fake Yeezys or stuff like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, of course. It happens probably every other week.
Really? Every other week?
Oh, yeah.
Do most of the people know they're fake?
Well, of course
say they don't.
Say they don't know. Some are good. Some will say, "Hey, I got this pair. I'm not really sure. Can you guys help us authenticate?"
Oh, okay.
And that's a better way to at least start the conversation. We had a guy that came in last week that thought he might have a bad pair, and they
were real.
They were good.
Oh, okay.
And so authentication is critical in our industry, right? If you're paying particularly high a dollar, you want something that's legit. And it's the one thing, if you said to me, Brian, what's the one thing that keeps you up about your business? While there's lots of things that could, it's that we are able to stand by our industry-leading double your money-back guarantee on authenticity. Everything that we sell comes with that, because we believe no other company comes close. At the best online, you'll get your money back and barely an apology. Mm. We have a double your money back, meaning we will give you twice what you paid for it because we won't. Now, we've been open 2 years. We did have one time where we had a bad pair, sold a bad pair. That was a different story.
Well, I got to tell that one.
We'll save that one for the next podcast. But where we had a pair that we bought that wasn't authentic, we sold to a customer, and we realized it, and we made good on it, and the guy bought a pair, and we learned a really good lesson within the first year that we were open, and that's why we don't buy apparel from people bringing apparel from the street. We won't buy apparel because apparel is even harder and worse in the industry. We only buy apparel direct from brand with receipts, because we believe in that so much. Yeah. Because, again, if you're paying top dollar, that's our reputation.
Yeah.
I'll get somebody that comes in and says, hey, I tried these on, wore them around the house. They look brand new. There's nothing that would indicate to anybody that they were what we call gently enjoyed. But we will, pay gently enjoyed for that, and we will sell them as gently enjoyed. We'll say they're just tried on, but we will not call them new, because, again, we can make a couple extra bucks on it. It's not worth it.
Right.
It's not. Our reputation is more important than selling a product that we can't stand behind.
Right.
Well, let's talk about kind of go into your previous career and like what were you doing before Jawns on Fire, and we're going to kind of move into the next part.
Sure. So, great question. For 24 years, I worked for Rite Aid, which was based out of Harrisburg, and blessed to have amazing experiences, amazing bosses, great ones, some that weren't so great. I learned what not to do. Great opportunities. I started out in stores, became a district manager, regional vice president. And then for the final 8 years that I was with Rite Aid, I was in the corporate office as a executive in store operations, and I worked on responsible for customer experience and our call center and operational initiatives and store labor and all these great things that I was able to work on, and my team was able to help contribute to the overall success of the company at the time. And those opportunities were huge. Right? A lot of work, learned a ton, didn't know anything. When I showed up at the corporate office day one, I knew how to operate stores. I knew how to lead people and run a clean and good and store, and got to the corporate office. Oh, here, you're gonna work on these initiatives, and here, go figure it out. And while that was difficult at the beginning, looking back now, amazing experience, because that's where my fit faux attitude came about. We'll talk about what that means momentarily, but had the opportunity to work on such tremendous initiatives, great people, learned every day. I always say, if I look back on my career, every year I should have been fired. If I look back, every year I should have been fired, because I'm like, wow, man, I was horrible. I didn't know that at the time. But the good thing is I was able to steal Denzel's, fail forward.
Yes.
I always have
the
the attitude of, let me try. I love to try, right? Don't give me a manual. Don't try to teach me with the class. Let me try. And when I can figure things out with my hand, I kind of have a engineer spirit, just not the education for it. Let me try and play with it. And if I can't figure it out, I'm going to then go find a friend, or nowadays go on YouTube, or and help figure out how to make something that needs to improve or needs to be fixed better.
Yeah.
And then the attitude of continuous improvement. Just because it's better today doesn't mean it's the best. And every day, how do you get better? I've always believed that if you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Yeah. You either evolve or dissolve. That's what.
And I've always said, I've never stayed the same weight 2 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I've either gotten more
or
gotten less. And in the corporate world, I learned, which has been critical for translation into what we do today, is there's no such thing as sustainment.
No.
That's a real big term.
It is.
I guess it gets thrown around in most companies, if not all. But you create an initiative, you spend a couple of years developing it, financial support, training, kickoff, programs, recognition, all that stuff, and now our job is to sustain it. And typically, what we'll hear is, or what you've heard other people say, is, well, when there's no sustainment program, so it fails. Move on to the next thing.
Yep.
Well, I've learned that there's no such thing as sustainment, and that you have to continually feed the fuel to that fire.
Yep.
And help it grow. Get feedback from your customers, get feedback from your team. What has to change? What has to evolve? And the great thing about being an entrepreneur is that we get to do that every day.
Right.
And we get to try things, and if it doesn't work, we learn. Thankfully, I'm a quick learner, and I have a team that's fantastic and helps me learn. And we learn every day what's working, what's not. So I guess taking that corporate experience and working at so many different levels and so many different opportunities, so many different bosses, I can't say that it, Jawns on Fire wouldn't have taken off so fast, but 100%, that's a major part of it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was thinking about going into this is there's a lot of guys in our industry in real estate who come from the corporate world.
Yep.
And all of us, including myself. I was a store manager intern in college, and then I got my degree, and I was like, I'm going to go run the corporate world. That's what I decided I wanted to try and do. And then I quickly realized after a couple of years that was not for me, right? And I think a lot of people, myself included, had a change moment, like a breaking point or some kind of thing that happened or thing that inspired the change. So can you tell us kind of what inspired you to, because you said you were right over 23 years, right?
24, yeah.
24, yeah. So what inspired your change after 24 years to be like, it's time to go?
Yeah, great question. So there's probably lots of things I could talk about, but really the big change that really drove the decision was I literally woke up one day. It was in April of 2020, and I said to my wife, I don't have the passion anymore. And, well, get over Brian. 2 mortgages, kids to put through college, long conversation. I'm not great at, I'm good at long story long, but to summarize, it took me 30 days to quote unquote convince my wife and family and some friends that were ready to bash me over the head that I trusted their thoughts to, without a job, with a couple of mortgages, kids put through college, to leave without one. I would go find one while you're blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that this wasn't necessarily what I want to do for the rest of my life. Doesn't mean it was bad, just it wasn't what I had to do the rest of my life. Now, take that and then add on top of that, you mentioned Bree, Bree is our 13-year-old daughter that went to heaven in May of 2020. And, people say, oh, that experience must have changed you. Well, there's a lot to talk about there. But, overall, we talk about, purpose in life. And there's lots of things that everybody decides what their purpose is and how they then, drive their actions and goals to get to that purpose. I wish I wasn't having this conversation. Quite frankly, I wish I wasn't here and have met you guys. And I would not have met you guys if it wasn't for Jawns on Fire.
Right.
But more importantly than meeting you guys, with the conduit being Jawns on Fire, is that I get to talk to you about Bree.
Yeah.
Right.
And now you guys help me, and you didn't have to wear the jacket because by me wearing, Bree Leave shirt, Bree shirt that we kind of use our rally cry or mantra as Believe, gets me through your help today to talk about Bree.
Right.
And selling sneakers and getting customer feedback and driving sales and all the things that come along with what Jawns on Fire is today and aspires to be tomorrow is a very, 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 very minute from a goal and importance as compared to me getting to talk about Bree. And Bree, in 2 months shy of 10 years, I talk about present terms, lives a life that people that, go to heaven in their 70s and 80s don't live. And this kid smiles. This kid brings joy to people's lives. This kid sees the positive in everything. And our, live like Bree, believe attitude is, be with who you want, do with what you want, act the way you want, dress the way you want, and live life to the fullest. This kid, we were blessed to be in the Jersey Shore for many summers with Bree, and this kid, there wasn't let's go to the boardwalk, let's go to the beach, let's go to a friend's pool, let's watch a movie, there wasn't a time where this kid, unless she didn't feel good at a particular day, that kid wasn't the first in line to go and live at the end of the night, exhausted, pass out, and then start over the next day. And I tell people all the time, it's really easy if you said to me, how you doing? I could very easily lay in bed all day, and watch Netflix and eat cheesesteaks.
Right.
Yeah.
But since the passing of Bree, but I won't do that because that would be a dishonor to her. Right. Because this is a kid that during her 6-month battle, even during the height of COVID when the world was shut down, this was a kid that lived every day to the fullest, and how could I dishonor her by not trying to do the same? Yeah. So that's kind of, there's a lot there, but that was really I want to be able, the purpose in life now is to share Bree's story and help others. Yeah. And while Reddit was great, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal wasn't going to help us to get to that goal, which was to inspire more through Bree's love, smile, happiness, and courage. And that was really the driving point that led me to, I'm not in it anymore. Let's go.
Yeah, and I told you when we talked last week, I have a nephew that was, he passed away 5 years ago. His name's Elijah. Mm-hmm. And
say his name.
We actually, I just realized what that said. We actually have shirts that say Believe. Because Eli is in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So it's the exact same shirts and
the chills.
Basketball tournaments, and it's the same thing.
Yep.
Because we believe, and his presence is always here. I mean, and I love how you speak in present tense, and I'm going to change that because Elijah's always here. He's always with me. Yep. And just you getting the ability to talk about her. And you even said to me, which was really important for me to hear, was like, you're like, John, you not asking questions is more disrespectful than you asking. Like, just ask, because I want to share her story. And this is what we talked about last Friday. And it's eye-opening for me because, and that's part of, there's grieving processes that goes with all of this. And for me, like, I was in a really bad accident. So I had 20 facial reconstructive surgeries. I thought God hated me. I'm ugly. Like, it really hurt me for a long time. Like, I've struggled mentally.
That's the best they could do?
20?
You need that 21.
I needed like 2 more. I gave them a picture of Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. They made Ben Affleck. So, no, I'm just kidding. Not there's anything wrong with that. That's a shame. But, I mean, honestly, like, to me, just talking to you about that face-to-face and understanding that talking about Bree is more important than anything.
Period. Yeah. And thanks for highlighting that. And perspective is key for all of us, right? Our own experiences that we can then share with others can help bring perspective. But until we really experience it, we don't know how it feels. And I worked with a guy at Rite Aid for many years, Kevin O'Brien, great friend, local to the area. His daughter went to heaven, 15 years ago. And I remember the weekend that I'd lost touch with him for a few years because I was in the field. He was in the corporate office. And when I read their online, I remember Kelly was working at University of Penn. We were living in Jersey. The boys were like 4 and 2. And I remember I spent the entire weekend reading these memoirs that Kevin and his wife wrote, and just crying my eyes out and saying, one, how could they continue? Right. 2, how could they be productive? People of the world knowing Kevin, that he was, is a great person and a great performer in his role that we work together with. How could they continue, and how do they have the ability to share all these very interpersonal thoughts and feelings? And even after, I've been re-engaged with Kevin when we worked together at the corporate office, and I remember being on the plane one day with him, and he's talking and laughing, and I'm like mortified. And I'm saying to myself, how in the world could he possibly, feel this way and share those emotions? And I didn't have his perspective. I didn't have his experience. So fast forward, now, of course, I understand completely. And what I say to people is, when people ask, something I could do for you, or how can I help you, and don't be afraid to ask about Brett. I'm not going to cry on you. I'll do my best to share in fun and energy and positivity. But how could by me talking about Bree, that brings me joy. By me talking about how Bree has impacted Jake and Zach and Allie, her brothers and sister, right. And the change that we've seen from them, because Kelly and I are different as parents. There's a kind of a BCAD moment. So people say, how are you? I'll say I'm good. But it's a different good than it was in the past.
Right.
And it will always be a different good meaning in the future.
Yeah.
Because our experiences today are kind of marred with that constant struggle of, joy and pain at the same time. And I learned from a prior boss after Bree went to heaven that, because I'm really bad at it's either true or false.
Yeah.
0 or 100.
Yeah.
I'm really bad, and he kind of enlightened me that multiple things can be true at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we can experience the joy of, Jake graduating from high school and going to Penn State, and Zach playing senior year high school basketball, and Allie having starting to really get into basketball and now joining AAUT. We experience those joys that come with that. But at the same time, there's this exact same time as a stabbing. Bree's not here. What's Bree doing? And who would her friends be? And does she have a boyfriend yet? And would she be playing sports? And the father-daughter dance that's upcoming that I'm not going with her. At the same exact time, I'll drive home some nights from work and we'll have like a killer day and lots of customers, and great sales, and great feedback. And I'll be kind of recapping in my mind at the same exact time. Boom. And I don't ask for it to be any other way. Yeah. I don't expect it to be I have no expectation that will change over time, or people will say, it'll get better over time. I have zero expectation. It's not what I want. Mm-hmm. Because I want to think about Brie all the time. I want to honor her all the time. And I want others to engage with me or us, because that's the joy because it's not about, you hear people say in loss or death, we're going to keep them alive, or we're not going to forget them. Well, that's all negative, in my opinion, negative connotation.
Right.
So for me, that's why we talk about Bree in current context. That our goal is that Bree is inspiring people for beyond the decades that we're here.
Amen.
Right.
It's a legacy.
Period. And it's not forgetting or remember. We'll always remember her.
Right.
That's the goal. And this kid, I'll share this one last thing with you.
Sure.
In the support groups that we were part of during Bree's treatment at CHOP in Philly, Children's Hospital Philadelphia. I forget who necessarily shared it with us, but it was a parent or maybe a social worker that shared that there's this belief. It's one thing that gets me a little sideways. There's a belief that when children that are being born, and God has designated them that they will leave Earth prior to when we think that they should, or at a young age, that these children get to pick their parents. And God gets them to pick their parents based on 3 criteria. That these parents will give them a great life while they're here, that they will be able to care for them in the best way during their battle, and that they will not just survive, but thrive beyond their passing. And I wish that conversation never had to happen. I wish that I never learned about that belief, but I believe it. Still have work to do in that third box forever.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know that Bree had an amazing 10 years. Bree was given the greatest of love and care during her battle, and that now she is helping us live that third box and inspiring us to be strong and to believe. We always believe every day, and be the best for our life, our kids, our family, our friends, and the world that we live in.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really beautiful. And I'm trying to talk through this right now because I have a 9-month-old right now, and so I'm trying desperately not to break down over this one because this is a really good thing to learn. I think the thing I want to highlight the most there is that you said that Bree was such a light in the world in the 10 years that she was here, and that third box of thriving is something that I can definitely see that you're taking seriously, and I can definitely see that you're really living out that passion for her here today, which is so cool.
I appreciate that, and that's what Live Like Bree is.
Right, exactly, yeah. So John was telling me about this book. Okay, the book is 6 Stages of Grief by David Kessler, and I just wanted to see if you could briefly explain that book and that impact that it had on you.
Yeah, so first of all, I haven't finished it. I'm really bad at finishing books.
Me too.
The only book that I've actually finished and actually read twice is losing my mind here. I buy it for people continually, and I have no idea why. Outliers.
Oh yeah, Outliers, great book.
Yeah,
phenomenal book.
Period. So we'll get to that in podcast 99. But David Kessler, 6 Stages, which originally was the 5 stages of grieving. The 6th stage, purpose, right? Which is highlighted. It was kind of, my understanding is that was part of stage 5.
Sure.
And broke that out. And what's your purpose in life? And you kind of heard me describe that a little bit. But there's really 2 major lessons that I've learned and I try to share with people. One is your loss is your own worst loss. So while people will say to us, they'll kind of always say, oh, I lost my this or my that. And it's no comparison to, losing a child. I'm not here to say, well, yes, of course. I'm here to always say your loss is your own worst loss. So while I appreciate you trying to qualify it for us, and while we believe, we know that, it's your worst loss. So we have compassion for your worst loss. You don't have to compare it to ours.
Right, sure.
Number one. And number two, what really kind of is why I really only talk about, experiences with people that I could assist with were the ones that I've lived. And what Gessler talks about is he, is one of the world-renowned, grief counselors. And tragically, one of his kids was killed in a car accident in his early mid-20s. And what I'm paraphrasing here, but what David talks about in the book and shares is that, for the 20 or 30 years that he was a grief counselor, and again, very well thought of around the world, he basically came out after this loss and said to those families, I'm sorry. That the advice and the ideas and the counseling that I provided to you and gave you, again, I'm paraphrasing, was wrong or was incomplete. Yeah. And why? Because he didn't have that experience. So he could offer clinical and things that have helped other people in his experiences. It was coming from a non-experience or non-true perspective and feeling. Because we don't know what it's like to be in a horrible car accident, or we don't know what it's like to grow up the fat kid that wanted a pair of Jordans, or we don't know what it's like. And I would bless every friend, family member, any enemy that I may have, or anybody out there that never loses a child, because while we all say and think it is the worst thing imaginable. And I had some of that feeling in the summer of 2019 before any of this even started. Scary premonition, I guess, looking back. There's nothing that I can ever speak of that I felt worse, which I'll kind of morph that into my attitude today, which is what could possibly happen that can hurt me?
Yeah, that's true.
And yes, there's obviously, I have 4 kids, always 3 with us. Obviously, something bad. There are things, sure. But in business or in the world that I live every day, it's nothing can hurt me is my attitude, which sometimes I say could be not the best attitude because having just a free mindset like that is a beautiful thing, but there of course always could be some consequences to that. But there, I've never been like a risk-averse person, and now it's like, what could you do? I always say, put me in my parents' basement with Bree and Jake, Zach, and Allie, and I'm the happiest person in the world.
Yeah.
Take it all away.
I feel the same way. Like, what could somebody do to hurt me? Like being a recovering addict and, and losing Elijah and family members and, the way you put that is like, that's the worst thing that's happened to me. And why would I compare that feeling to somebody else's worst thing? It makes no sense. Yeah. And I love that you said that because that helps me understand a lot from where other people come from with their heartaches as well, because I don't have to tiptoe around it because it's mine. It's mine. It's the worst thing that I'm going to go through. But I'm not afraid.
Yep.
I'm not. And the one thing you said is whenever he wrote this book, he had not dealt with an actual trauma like this. And for me, I went to rehab. I spent 30 days in rehab, and I had counselors and this and that. I had some really good counselors that weren't former addicts, but the best of the best to me are ones that actually lived it and could actually speak to it because they've lived it. So when you brought that point up to me, it's right on the money.
Yeah, what's better than life experience?
Nothing.
Yeah,
good and bad.
Right. And I'm thinking just out loud here, one thing that I'm definitely going to take from this is just, I think we get ourselves worked up a lot with, I'm going to use the cliche term of first world problems. Like we can get stressed out about a bill or stressed out about, when we're going to get paid or little things of like, oh, somebody said something that could be moderately construed as mean to me today. I'm not even sure if they meant it that way. And, it's really good to have a perspective where you can see okay, really a lot of these problems that we're stressed out about all the time and that are turning my hair gray at 28 and things like that are just really not that big of a deal.
Don't sweat we will always
don't sweat the small
stuff, and that's hard, right? I'm a OCD, undiagnosed, probably OCD. I have very specific. Chairs pushed in and everything looks a certain way.
Yeah.
I don't have any regrets in life. I have one that's shared for others out there I'll bucket it into the regret world, but I can't have any regrets because I can't add any more pain to my life.
Yeah.
But I did spend too many hours and time. Kids, push the chair around. Who gives a crap? Right.
Sure.
Who gives a crap?
Yes.
Unfortunately, we don't always learn that until we experience trauma or life-changing events. And so if there's something that I can share that might be able to help people, don't sweat the small stuff, but who cares?
Yeah.
And while I have compassion when I'll hear a friend or a counterpart talk that they're devastated because their kid didn't make this soccer or basketball.
They got an A- instead of A+ on something.
and I get it.
Yeah.
Right. I understand that is in that moment that's a tough for that kid or for that parent or for that family. Sure. But I guarantee you that it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that with positive attitude, positive outlook, and failing forward, that can all be turned into positivity for the future. And I'll sometimes get, a little ticked off when somebody's complaining to me that they're, but again, they don't have my perspective.
Right.
So I'll have compassion, but I'll also try to remind them that it's not that bad.
You ever have to take a step back when they're talking sometimes and be like,
during the COVID, the heat of COVID, so, Bree was, diagnosed December 1st, 2019. And COVID hit the world, early March 2020 and getting treatment and going. And I would see on social media, I can't believe this bar, I couldn't go out and hang out with my friends.
Yeah. That would.
And Bree can't hang out with her friends. And Bree, my parents and my in-laws can't come over because Bree's been going back and forth from the hospital being treated. So God forbid if she has COVID, they can't afford to get it, and vice versa. No one can give Bree their germs. So during that phase, when I would hear, I was ready to jump through the phone, so to speak, and say, again, it's really not that bad. I don't have any anger or hate, but perspective is everything. Yes. But I also understand and have compassion for people, and I think if we all had equal compassion and attempt to understand, then we'd all be Eagles fans and the world would be a better place.
So, no, you're good. So you mentioned the family, of course. How important has your wife, Kelly, and your other kids, I want to get them right, Jake, Zach, and Allie, right?
Yep.
How instrumental have they been and your community been to, everything you guys went through?
Yeah. So, short answer, of course, our family, our closest friends, our community, rose to the occasion during our, 6 months and beyond, with support and food and encouragement and fun stuff for Bree and the family. Incredibly grateful, and always will be. And it helps us be even bigger givers when we have the opportunity for somebody in need. So incredibly thankful for all of that. Shifting to the kids, you heard me say a little bit earlier that, we're different parents, Kelly and I, than we were. Some of that could be good, some of that could be worse, right? But there's no doubt in our mind that we are, one, blessed to always have 4 amazing children. We are blessed that we have 3 amazing kids with us here every day. And there's no doubt in our mind that Bree's inspiration and courage and the way that she took on her challenge has had a major impact in Jake, Zach, and Allie, period. they're all in great happiness, great spirits, great at school. Health-wise, Jake and Zach have become Adonises and healthy. Allie, it's crazy. You know, I used to always get teased that Allie was the favorite. And what everybody always forgets, I've always was that like dad that like from the age of like 3 to 5, like 2.5 to 5 was like my real engagement point, because this is when they're out of diapers and running around and doing things. You throw them in the car, or you start watching sports together. All these things, painting nails, and we were blessed that every 2.5 years I had another chance, because once Jake was now 5 or 6, Zach was in that age, and when Zach was out of that age, Bree was in that age, and once Bree was in that age, then Allie was in that age. So the oldest kids now, Jack, saw me coddling Allie in those days. They just forget how they were coddling in those age. So that's where the, Allie's the fave. But Allie has so many of Bree's, first of all, her looks, her mannerisms, her style, her facial expressions. I mean, sometimes it's eerie to see her look at me a certain way. I'm like, that's Bree. And there was a countdown to a date where Allie was, this is a couple of years dated now, that Allie was going to be an age which Bree never reached with us here, which was, 9 years, 10 months. And that September of that time period, there was a countdown. I didn't share with anybody. A countdown had that, Allie's now going to be older than Bree ever was with us. And I never want to put any pressure on Allie, but there's clearly just watching her grow and feeling her, while she can be completely different in so many ways, she's also completely the same in so many ways. So there's some joy along with some pain in watching her continue to grow, and that there's certain things that I'm confident and believe that are traits of Bree that live inside of Allie.
Right.
And watching that is a blessing for us.
Well, and continue on by creating and continuing the story of Bree, and how important it is to talk about our loved ones and what it means to us, especially when it comes to healing. And we're never all going to be healed from everything. It's just not the way it works. But for us to continue those stories, and for how much you talk about Bree and how much she lives in the store and everywhere at all times, I think is really important. And I think it's important for you to share this. And it's the real reason I wanted you on the show, is because you don't know how many seeds this is planting for somebody out there that's struggling right now. And that's what's most important about when we share our heartaches and our struggles. Like it's not about me, but I had my car accident. I was depressed for 9 months because I never talked about it. Never tried to heal from it. Yep. You don't heal till you actually start working on it.
Yep.
And that's what I think has been the best thing about what you share in your story, and the Bree Leave. I love that. Yeah, that's that's
I need one
awesome.
of those shirts.
Yeah, for sure.
We can get them at the store, right?
Yeah, well, of course.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
And if you see me taking notes or writing, I'm not trying to be rude. He's answering a lot of the questions that we've already written down.
Yeah.
And so I don't want you to think I'm being rude. I'm just trying to.
I thought you were playing tic-tac-toe.
It was actually Hangman.
Okay.
It was Jawns.
Okay.
That was the
nice.
I'm just kidding. No, you've answered a lot of our questions, which I think is important. And so I don't want you to think we're being rude. I just want you to know, like, when I am doing this stuff, it's because we're going through this stuff and you're explaining things which actually makes it easier, so I don't have to ask. And I even told Taylor this morning, like, I was really nervous about today. She's like, why? She's like, you guys do a really good job on the show. I'm like, because this is a tough topic. It's not easy. Yeah. It's never easy. But like you said earlier, not asking is worse than asking.
Yeah. So I guess to close out here, a big thing we talk about, this is always kind of one of our final questions here, is the good hustle, which we joked with you when you came here that we didn't even plan that to be the name, but it ended up being the name. But a big part of it is finding that good hustle, that passion, that pursuit of of the best version of you that you can be, right? The best Brian you can be, the best John you can be, the best Zach you can be, and stuff. What do you think it is about your mindset? I think we've talked about it a lot today, but what do you think about your mindset has made you able to be the best Brian you can be when it comes to Jawns on Fire, but also just as a person and having the mindset? Honestly, the most impressive thing to me about your mindset has been how you've dealt with Bree. So can you tell us a little bit about how you think your mindset has led you to where you are today?
Sure. Well, thanks for that. And by the way, if with this question, we just ran out of time because I'm long-winded. That's okay too. No.
Honestly, you went through all of them. Like, look at this one. What is your advice? You already did that.
So I really appreciate this question, but and again, you learn who you are over time. If we only knew what our strengths and weaknesses are earliest on in life, and man, right? But that's not life experience. So I've always had this attitude, and I've kind of labeled it. I should probably trademark this before it gets too widely known. But FITFO, figure it the blank out.
Yep.
Right.
And I've always, even from a young kid, when I was 13, my mom would bring me to her office for the school district of Philadelphia, and I'd put together the Mac computers. And not that it was hard. But back then, that was a big deal. This wire here, this wire there,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But I was that guy to figure things out. The joke was always, MacGyver he might have the looks, but bring me along because I'll figure it out. Put me in a corner if I can't figure it out, again, I'll try to find somebody that can help me. And anytime I've learned that and bring the team along with me has just been even more tremendous. Mm-hmm. So this attitude to figure it out. Don't ask questions first, figure it out. Sure. And how do you figure things out is not necessarily what defines you or defines me, but it's that attitude.
Yeah.
That I can overcome any challenge. And while every beautiful story also has some pain to it, you say to this day, and I'll say this forever, give me any challenge. I'm not going to be perfect at it. Yeah. It might take me longer than I want or think, or you might want or think, but I'll figure it out. But the one challenge that God threw at me that I had zero impact of figuring out was Bree. And it kind of was one of those things that chopped me in half. Because there's some attitude of I'm the man. I can figure things out. I will work endlessly. Talent's important. Being smart's important. Having resources is important. But nothing beats hard work. I've always said that's the 2 4-letter words in retail that nobody likes to digest is hard work.
Yeah. And
we see it all the time. I'm digressing here, but with a hard work mentality, with a figure it the blank out, those traits, personalities, skills, as you ever want to bucket that, that's always been in me. Now I know it, and it will last forever, and that's who I am, and that on good days, bad days, average days, on days that I want to get sidetracked into something else, that is what drives me, and I love sharing that with others. And it's something that we all have within us, or could have within us.
Exactly.
It doesn't cost any money.
Yeah.
Nope.
Hard work, determination, drive. These things don't cost any time and money. They cost time, but they don't cost money. And those are what I believe is who I am, what maybe helps separate me. And if that can help you,
it does. I love it.
And if it does, share with others.
All right. So before we ask the last question,
okay,
Zach and I gave you an undisclosed amount of money.
Undisclosed. Secret.
And he went and got us stuff. It's in a bag, and he has been dying to give it to us, correct?
Dying. Again, I'm bad at surprises. To the point when I rung it up in the system, but I made a separate account so you guys didn't have the urge to click on the receipt. And
well, I'm not clicking, but let's do it. Before the last question, let's find out what we're getting.
All right, so we have the stuff. We're back.
The stuff.
He got us the stuff.
So you guys said to me kind of what you like, what your sizes were, of course. Mm-hmm. And my job was to find a fire pair of sneakers and a shirt to match. that you could wear, every day, not necessarily hype beast, but maybe a little personality tied together, right?
Yeah, a little swag. Yeah.
All right. So
Let's go.
for Zach,
I'm so excited.
I thought it was
might cry.
appropriate to dive into something. Well,
I already see the box.
judge.
The box is just, look at that. I mean,
Fire.
And as
on.
of today, these are unreleased.
Unreleased?
So very few people will have
Oh,
these.
let's go. Oh, my gosh. You kidding me?
okay. These are just insane. Look at these.
They're the threes.
They're threes.
These the Jordan 3s?
That's my favorite
my
Jordan is the three.
Jordan
So what
threes.
makes these unreleased?
Meaning they just haven't come out to the market yet.
Okay, it's just this colorway.
That specific. So it's basically describing it. It's a black cement
Oh, these are
gray, but it has
amazing.
this touch of
That's your
neon
color.
green.
Yes.
That's,
It's a teal.
It's in the
close.
family.
Yeah.
Listen, it's pretty close to Dolphins green, so I'll take it. And these are, I mean, yeah, you can never go wrong with J's, and 3s are amazing. So
really comfortable.
These are awesome.
Haven't come out to the market yet. You have a few weeks to
unreleased.
to
You lucky
impress.
dog. I'm jealous because I am a 3-man.
Well, I know John's are not going to be as good as mine. So
And
I
then
already-
to pair that with a match, and of course being a Dolphins fan, is an essentials
Fear of God.
fear of God.
Oh, that's pretty.
Are you kidding me?
You know, Alex wore Fear of God
That's
on
the
our
same one that
podcast.
we're at the podcast.
That's
Same type of t-shirt.
amazing.
Or sweatshirt.
Now, if you're not familiar with this brand, we got to do a little bit of ironing on that thing.
Yeah.
It is
hang it up
incredibly comfortable, incredibly durable. It fits great.
It feels so.
You could wear. I always say to people, you could wear it on a 30-degree day, and you could wear it today with a pair of shorts and be incredibly comfortable. They used to be just all like neutral colors, and they've transformed last year into some
Matches
more
the shoe perfect.
colors.
Yeah. And he nailed the Dolphin stuff. I mean,
And the best part about it
is
is
green swag.
it's the only line that I wear in my life that I can buy a large in because it's cut incredibly oversized.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So it wears well. So if there's any issue with any of that stuff,
I'll work out
we'll
stuff
take-
later.
take
Yeah,
care of it.
that's
Yeah.
amazing though. That is sweet.
So now we got to figure out, and maybe the gift card is who's got the better fit that you guys can help this.
I am so excited.
John, I went a little close, so you be the judge.
Oh, well, I already know
first
this.
We know
box.
SB because we
love
talked
SB.
about SB.
Oh. See, and I
Oh, those
love-
are so pretty.
So like every day, but a little bit of color.
Look at them. I don't even want to. See, here's the problem. Like, am I going to wear them?
You could wear those. You could wear those to the country club.
Oh, those
Look
are
at 'em.
so pretty.
I'm an SB freak.
Oh, I love the paper you put in
God,
here
I'm-
too.
It's the Jawns on Fire
so-
paper, and we
I'm
did one
so
black
nervous.
lace, one white lace. Of course, you can kind of go any.
Oh, my gosh. Look at them. And they're the same size?
Your size. Yeah, yeah.
Long story. I sold him a pair of shoes that were 2 different sizes. Thank you, StockX. Thank you, StockX. We should have sold them to Bill Brennan. I should have sold them to Bill Brennan. Sorry, Bill.
Oh my gosh.
And then to go with it, this is
Let's go.
it's a great match, but a little bit on the edgier side. So again, you be the judge here.
Oh,
but this is a Timberland Supreme.
Oh, Supreme.
Oh, so it's. Oh,
Timberland and Supreme collab. Perfect
and it
colorway
matches
match.
with the. Oh
my gosh.
And the back has that kind of big patch, but the front's kind of more
Dude, are you
tame.
kidding me?
That's
So,
so cool. So it's a Timberland Supreme collab.
Yep.
That's crazy.
This is the best.
This is the best ever
So,
over here.
It's
like
not
Christmas.
it's not Cowboy colors, but
I'm
yeah,
not a
that-
Cowboys fan.
That's right. You're an Eagles fan.
No. Vikings.
Vikings. Why do you think you're a Cowboys fan?
I just don't like the Vikings.
Okay.
Dude, I am so excited right now.
It almost makes up for the Kelly green jacket.
Yeah, I like it. Liquid just covered it.
All right. Well,
There you go.
this out.
yeah, and the hats too. We got the Jawns hats today. These are amazing.
So, last question.
Yes, hit me.
Where's Jawns on Fire going?
That's a great question.
Loaded question.
That's a great question. So, if we have lots of plans. If we could only do a quarter of them, we would accomplish a lot. But the headlines, I guess maybe the best way to bucket that is, obviously is to continue to build our brand and with our customer experience as our first and top priority. Obviously, more or new locations to expand the brand outside of the Harrisburg Central PA market is part of the roadmap. But they're kind of the boring things. The really exciting things. I've always been a technology geek and guy, so what's the shopping experience of the future like?
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on a few things that with the advent of VR and maybe Apple Vision goggles and, how to maybe touch and feel things in front of you could be part of that roadmap.
I had a funny idea. You should have one of, the giant thing that cleans the floors.
Get that thing.
You should have that thing deliver your shoes when you buy them in the store.
We actually have, yes, we actually, again, back in the experience, so we have a Tesla Cyber truck, which we call the Cyber Jawns, which we, drive around the store, deliver sneakers with.
Yes.
I've always wanted to get a dog for the store. Maybe one day we'll have like a French Bulldog that has a wagon that pulls the sneakers.
That would be really cool.
And pretty soon, since we're on the Tesla Cyber truck, we actually have a Jawns on Fire Cyber truck that hopefully I'll get an alert any day now that will be pulling the fire truck.
Oh, my gosh.
Cyber truck and fire truck, which was the day one plan. We're just waiting. Elon, please start Pennsylvania. And lasting on experience, again, in the world of what's the future customer look like, we believe there's some gaps in how people rate sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
So in the used market or the generally enjoyed market, people throw around terms VNDS, very near dead stock, or it's rated an 8 out of 10, or what does that mean? It's very subjective. So there's some
you're talking about
there's some pipeline stuff that hasn't come to life yet, but maybe be the groundbreaker on how the Carfax, so to speak, of the sneaker industry. So more to come. We're so excited, and we appreciate our customers. We appreciate our loyal customers. We appreciate the next customer that will earn their trust and business with. My team, I got a shout out to Miles Campbell, my guy from day one. Just the most engaging, caring, hardworking, dedicated, loyal, learns every day, willingness to learn. He's tremendous, and I love him to death, and can't wait to continue to grow with him. And to my family and friends that continue to support me and us, and understand that this thing is evolving every day, and it requires a ton of commitment, is the greatest gift in the world. And I appreciate you guys for having me in today and letting us have some fun and talk about the business, and most importantly, talk about Bree. So thank you guys.
Yep. So we are super excited to have you on the show. That was a phenomenal episode. And if you are struggling with any type of grief or loss or anything in this world, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be there to help. There's groups, there's phone numbers, there's counseling, there's friends, there's family. So
reach out to me. I'd be love to help support you and give whatever advice I could possibly give.
Yep, you've helped me. So thank you so much. And Jawns on Fire. Let's go.